All right, everybody, welcome to the Pigeon Hole. This is only episode 4 that we're launching, and we have my favorite woman guest that we've had ever of all time, and it's Jay. Did I pronounce your first name right?
You
Jay.
did. You did. Great job. There you go.
And Shia.
Yep, Shia.
See, I won a bet with my with my friend, so. So now everybody knows you pronounce her name correctly when you see her.
Yep. Good.
Okay. So Jay, that's really it, Jay?
Just Jay. Last name Shia.
Is that on your birth certificate?
Could be, just about.
just
like
about.
close enough.
All right. So I'm gonna start when I first remember meeting you. Okay.
Oh shoot. I don't remember that.
And when I tell the story, you'll probably remember. Okay, so I think it was only last year at Handbuilt. So we're outside. We're shooting a really fucking crazy video with Craig. And it was you, Craig, and Gareth outside.
With the playing cards. Oh my God.
Yes. So we're standing next to a tree or something, and we're shooting something ridiculous. And I forget what I don't even know what you guys were talking about. So as we get done and we're laughing hysterically, I turn around and this gentleman comes over and he laughs, and I shook his hand. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry about that because people thought we were ridiculous. And it was your dad.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I brought him with me to that show. It like blew his mind.
I bet, because you're kind of like a superstar out there.
I don't know. It's not even about being a superstar. It's that my dad has never been to any of. So he like grew up with motorcycles, and he had never been to any of the shows. And so I was like, you know what? Like, you always make fun of me about all this, and you're coming with me. And we had a blast. Austin was really dope also.
Oh my God, Austin is fantastic.
Yeah.
And your dad's a cool cat.
Yeah, he is. He definitely is.
I wonder if I would have known as your dad, we probably would have changed a couple of things we were probably talking about.
No, he's right there on the same page.
So how did you get into this whole motorcycle scene?
So it's a long story, but I can make it kind of just summarize it, is that working with metal is a family trade. So my whole family is from Lebanon and Syria, and they're all tinsmiths and metal workers and in mechanics. And when they came to the US, they brought tools, and that's how they continued their work when they came to the US. My father picked up that trade and then kind of passed it down to me. But that's paired with my father, who, I don't know if you were able to tell from just meeting him, but he's kind of a mad scientist mixed with a hoarder. And
not always two good traits that go together.
Not at all. And he got fixated on buying like $50 motorcycles when I was a young teenager, and he got like 100 or 70 maybe vintage motorcycles and jammed them into the yard, and that's what I grew up tinkering on.
Oh my God.
And then kind of word got out that there was a kid in the yard fixing old motorcycles, and people would show up with their old bikes, and I would tell them, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. Like, yeah, I could do your tire change. I kid you not, I had no idea what I was doing. A tire change would take me like 4.5 hours. And I'd be like, all right, yeah, give me like $15. And that's how I learned. I would just tell everyone, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. I'll do your valve adjustment. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'd run inside and like try and figure out, like, is there a manual here for this kind of bike?
And there wasn't like a YouTube you could just look up on how to do everything.
Not really. No. I mean, there was, but I don't know. And so I'd like run and ask my dad what's up, and then it just kind of boiled that, okay, I'm starting to slowly learn. And yeah, over the past 15 years, it's developed into me having a shop now.
That's awesome. And that your dad was a big part of it from the beginning, and he must be so proud to be out there with you.
He was a big part in the beginning, and him and I have never actually worked together. We've never had a whole work day ever working side by side, which I hope will happen at some point, because yeah, I feel like maybe it's good that didn't happen when I was younger, so I could build my own independence in my career. But Now it's like, I don't know, we have a shop and a facility that would make it fun for us to collaborate, even if it's on just maintenance like what we do here. But
Right.
yeah,
So
I
it's
always joke that I try and hire him, but he always says no.
So it's Madhouse Motors, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. So this is full-time gig.
It is full-time gig. We have, well, obviously this is a video, so you can see the background, but
Right.
it's a big shop. We probably have 100-something bikes up here on the top floor. And one side of the shop is a machine shop, and then we have a bunch of benches for general maintenance. And then we have a retail area and like kind of our offices. You can see in the background up here.
Wow.
For our manager right here.
Wow.
And then I do my private builds, like my personal projects over here where the whiteboard is, where I have my welders and, you know, our mill and our lathe and all that stuff. You can see in the background here.
Holy cow. I had no idea. Place is huge.
Yeah, it's a big looking shop, but it's a lot of maintenance, and which is what we love.
Is that your biggest form of income there, and your biggest form of business is maintenance on motorcycles?
It definitely is. Restorations, we do a lot of antique and kind of rare and exotic restorations, which is personally my favorite part of working on motorcycles tenfold, because I'm kind of a history nerd. And when we get these old bikes that I'm not so familiar with, having to spend the time to learn about them, I really, really love.
Wow, that's amazing. You know what's funny is you get to meet everybody. So I meet you out there, and I meet all these guys, and I know where like my good friend Craig Rodsmith works, and it doesn't look anything like your shop, by the way. So
well, everyone works different. You know what I mean? Everyone works different. Like if you look at Max's his shop is smaller and clean, but so pristine. It looks like it could be a surgical suite, you know? And it's like, wow, I wish I could have that, you know, having this big building. Is a totally different side of motorcycles, you know? So it's just kind of what suits everyone's needs.
Yeah, so. No, it's amazing. Okay, so I have to ask you this because I was looking through stuff. So, first of all, a couple of things that really stuck out for me talking to you is I love family stuff. I think it's so cool about your father, and then looking through your Instagram and everything. Your son.
Yes.
How old is he?
He's 10. He's just huge.
I would never say he was 10.
Yeah, so he's 10, and I'm very short. I'm very small. And so he kind of emphasizes that when people see me in like real life with him, because we're the same size. It's hilarious.
That's awesome. Now, does he have any interest in bikes?
Yeah, I mean, I go ride dirt bikes with him like every other weekend now. He grew up in the shop or like in the yard when I was working in the yard. Like that's where he's been his whole life, and he understands the safety side of being in a shop and what he can touch and what he can't touch, and now he understands how to ride, and him and I go out and ride. And
does he have any interest in working in the shop?
I mean, I make him do chores because that's how I grew up. I'm actually very adamant on that, where if you're, I don't know, it's like if you go to eat at someone's house, you know, you don't just sit down, have them cook for you and leave. It's like, no, you have to help them cook. You have to help them do the dishes and all that. So if he's going to be in the shop while all of us are working, he can't just sit and draw the whole time. Or it's like, no, you got to take the trash out and do this and do that. And then you can go take apart your bike. Or then you can go paint your wheels or whatever you want to do that day.
Right. But, so he's into it. He loves it.
Yeah, he does.
It's nice to see kids doing something other than playing Fortnite or Roblox or something like that.
I have no video games, computer games, cable, nothing at home. I've never had that.
I've totally failed as a parent. You're making me look really bad.
No, you know, it's kind of different preference for everyone, but I didn't grow up with a TV, so yeah, my kid doesn't have any of that stuff.
That's awesome. He'll thank you for that later.
I hope so. I hope so. Sometimes I could see it bothering him, but I don't care.
If I turned the internet off right this morning, we wouldn't have any silence here. Right at the moment.
Yeah, I hear you.
No, that's awesome. So that's good. So I got Parenting 101. from Jade, just to let you know, just for starts. You know what? I want to hear because so I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he had a couple things that he was completely amazed about a couple bikes that you've built. Tell me about the hand starter on the BSA.
Oh man. So the BSA was kind of like the catalyst of this build style that I'm working on right now. And so the past couple bikes I've built and the ones I'm building right now are kind of in a very specific style. And the BSA, I had built because I was asked to join the Sturgis 30 under 30 oil in the blood, or not oil in the blood, what's it called? Motorcycles as art show. Okay. So Michael Lichter threw an event, Motorcycles as Art, and I had seen the roster for it, and I told him that I didn't want to do it.
Why?
And so to be honest, I saw the names on it, and I was like, man, I'm gonna embarrass myself. It's like I can't go and compete with all these guys. And it's not even about competing. I was like, I'm not there yet. I was 27, and I just saw the names, and I kept saying no. And he'd call me back a couple months later, and I'd say no. And he'd call me back, I'd say no. And then finally, it's like 3 months before the event, and I'm like, all right, fine, I'll go. And so I team up with an artist whose sculpture style is similar to the aesthetic that I was interested in building, the kind of the style that I had done in art school, named Michael Ullman. And so him and I started building this bike. And then towards like the middle of it, we only did this bike in 70 days. It's like, yeah, I could bring a cool looking grungy bike, but I have a mechanic background. I feel like no one will see the mechanical knowledge that I've worked so hard on building. So I was like, what could I do to to like prove that? I was like, I'm gonna do a pole start. Genuinely was one of the worst ideas I've ever thought of. We had machined a knuckle to go over the kickstart lever, and then welded on a bolt cutter arm, and then I installed an electronic ignition, and it just genuinely did not work. It didn't work. The amount of foot pounds that I could pull it with my arm was, not enough to start it up, and it just didn't work. So it was like a week before the show, or before it gets shipped out, my girlfriend's filming, and it fires up. And that's the start of the video where everyone sees me like like my breath's taken away because the thing finally started up. And then after that, after doing the pull start, and after people being like, wow, that was pretty weird, I wanted to build another anomaly, which is why I did the gas pedal bike of the next one.
That is so cool too. So
yeah.
what kind of bike is the next one? I know that you had it at Mama Tried, I think, the gas pedal one.
Yeah, so the bike that came after the pull start is a 1957 Royal Enfield Indian. And that bike I felt like I built as a push for me to mature as an artist, to slow down. The BSA was built in 70 days. It was rushed. It was fun. It was one of my favorite projects I've ever done. But the next one, I felt like I needed to grow up a lot. And so I slowed down a lot on it, and I thought through what I wanted to create a lot more. But I still wanted there to be elements that make it seem like they're all from the same genus, that they're all family, that they're a series. And so the bike that came after the BSA functions with a gas pedal, which I think kind of complements the pull start, because these are abnormal functions. And they have very similar like aesthetic energy, from the textures and the paint not being perfected and the welds being exposed, etc. So my goal is for them to be able to be seen together as a unit, as a series.
Right. And you have both those bikes at the shop right now?
Yeah, they're right behind me.
Nice. So what is the gas pedal on the foot gas pedal? What is it made of?
I had taken Brannock devices, which are what you use to measure your shoes at shoe stores. And turn them into running boards that are mounted to actually the triple tree of my son's dirt bike, which he was not happy about, which is flipped upside down. That works kind of like a running board on a classic old bike, where your feet are not just sitting on a peg on a board. And the pedal is a hay hook. So in the like early 20s, 30s, 40s, you'd have a hook to pick up bales of hay. And I welded on the tab that goes to your carb to actuate your intake to open up and close, or your slide to open up and close, and your butterfly valve. And then I made a stop out of this kind of strange little piece of aluminum so that when you push it, you can't whiskey throttle it. And the spring has the same amount of tension that like your pedal in a car would have, so that your brain isn't going all crazy with the spring action.
That is the coolest bike. I don't think I've seen that one live. I must have saw it at Mama Tried.
Yeah, you probably did.
Yeah, that is awesome. So is there more to this series?
There is.
Anything you can tell us?
Yeah, I mean, I guess
you don't have to divulge any secrets. It's okay.
It's not that I'm trying to keep a secret. It's that I am still kind of figuring out what I'm doing, or even kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm trying to build a series of machines that have abnormalities in how they function or how they're viewed. So the next bikes that I'm making don't necessarily like have bizarre mechanical things like a pull star or a gas pedal, but the bikes that I'm building next, they're intended to be sort of interactive and work as a piece that the viewers have to kind of think about when seeing. So sort of like an optical illusion, where it's like, what is actually going on here? So it's not about really how they look, it's not about how they perform, but more about making the viewers confused at what is going on. So in essence, I'm kind of trying to build an optical illusion that, I don't know, that confuses people but also entertains them. So nothing too serious, nothing too intense, kind of these playful machines that people who are not into motorcycles can appreciate.
That's cool. So is this new bike that you're working on? Do you have what shows are you going to be at this year? You hope to be at?
So I really love all the shows. I love all the shows. I hadn't gone to them at all before building the BSA because I didn't even really know about them. I was just a mechanic. I didn't know that people showed off their motorcycles anywhere.
Right.
And so I would love to go to the one show, but I don't think that my bikes will be done for that, because half of what I'm doing with them, I'm also trying to build a display, which I think is going to take a little bit, and the one show's coming up. And then Mama Tried is, a month after. I'm not sure I'll be able to make it for that. But the hand-built show, I would love to have these bikes done.
Yeah, and the hand build is a totally different animal out there too. It's so fun. Well, Mama Tried, is what, 35, 40 minutes from where I'm at here. So it's just kind of nice to go to Austin where it's warm for a show. Definitely.
All the shows are wicked cool. I want to go regardless if I'm bringing a bike, just to observe what's there, because I find it really, really fascinating and cool.
Yeah, and what a great group of people. It just blows me away.
Oh, definitely.
Like I haven't met one asshole at any of these shows. Well, I'm sorry. Let me take that.
You work with Craig, dude.
Who do you think the asshole I was talking about was?
Right.
And actually, he said, quote unquote, that you're one of his favorite human beings.
He's one of my favorite. Craig has been a very, very cool person to get to know, because he thinks so outside the box, and he does not care about rules, and you can see it when he works, which I love.
He has no rules.
Yeah,
he really has no rules. I was at his shop yesterday, and the two things that we really can't even show. I'm like, our favorite line is, "That's just stupid,"
Yeah. Yeah.
which makes everything awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm
And
excited to see what he's doing next. It seems like a bunch of builders are doing kind of these cool, funky secret projects that I'm very excited to see.
and I like to see people way outside of the box.
Yeah.
Just way outside, and everything with the electric motorcycles, and there's so many, from the 3D parts to the it's just different.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now, when you went to Austin, have you been to the Haas Museum?
I have not been to the Haas Museum. I met Bobby Haas briefly, and his museum is in Dallas, right?
Correct.
And so I chatted with him just for a couple minutes, but I hadn't met him before or been to his museum or anything like that. I actually didn't really know about the whole series of commission bikes that were there. So that was one hell of a treat, where you get to see, I think it was 6 bikes that are the state of the art and gorgeous and thought out. And so it was like going to the handbuilt show was great. And then it was like this kind of cherry on top. But
Yeah.
I haven't been to the Haas Museum. I would love to, definitely at some point.
Yeah. Plan an extra day if you go to Austin, because it's unbelievable. It's like,
For sure.
You would be like freaked out. I think you'd spend the whole day there, like walking around. Especially, I like that he embraces all the custom stuff too. That's such a cool thing. Besides racers and everything else, I mean, you have such a unique group of people. Now, what do you consider yourself? You're a mechanic. You're if you had to put yourself in one.
I mean, I don't want to be put in one category yet.
When I was talking to Mark Atkinson, he says he's a machinist. And I'm like, really?
I'm definitely not a machinist. I do machining, so like I can use a mill and a lathe, but I'm not a machinist. I don't know. So I'm a mechanic by day, so I'm here doing work on all different kinds of motorcycles every day, from tire changes on vintage Jap bikes to engine rebuilds on modern super bikes or whatever it may be.
What's your favorite thing to work on? Is it the functionality or is it the creative part? What's your favorite part?
I like to design. I like to design motorcycles. So before building the BSA in the Royal Enfield, I did dozens of commissioned bikes for customers, where someone would come in and they say, "Hey, I want a bike that looks like A, B, and C. Can you make it?" And I would design a bike for them and build it. And so designing it and then fabricating parts for those bikes is my favorite part. But now, because I'm not doing commissioned work for people as much and doing the series for myself, I guess I'd consider myself a motorcycle builder. But it's for me a lot more about like the design of it and thinking it out and kind of creating the whole vibe and energy around the machine. And then for me right now, around the series that I'm trying to have, where you see all my work together and it makes a lot more sense as a series and as a kind of performance piece.
That is awesome. So how do you go from the backyard with 50 motorcycles in it, working on them, to such a huge place that you're at right now?
We got kicked out of the yard.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the shop is named after my dad's house, which people in the neighborhood and in Boston kind of know as the Madhouse, because it's crazy. There'll be motorcycles everywhere and lawnmowers and dogs barking and things on fire, and it's kind of crazy. And so people
Sounds awesome.
It's really cool if you're a spectator, but for my family that lives there, like I've lived a couple streets away for a decade now, and so I get to go and check on my family all the time, which I love. And for them it's crazy, but for other people it's like going to an amusement park. So
it's just a fun way to live.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. But so it's called Madhouse because it's this really wild place with a big dirt yard filled with junk. And that's where I worked. And we would build these, it looked like a shanty town at one point. We would build these tents in these little shacks and kind of like little tunnels in a way that we would work through. So if it snowed, we'd make these little tunnels to go from one shack to another. It's like, yeah, it was like a little tent city. And I worked there with one of the most important people in my entire career, Sarah Anthony, who owns Nova Motorcycles. And him and I basically started Madhouse together working in this backyard. And then the city got upset because of all the oil that was getting spilled and all the motorcycles. And we had to move, and we moved into a wood shop that had no heat, that was probably 200 square feet. There was no garage door. We had to push bikes in and out of door. There was no bathroom. It was terrible. It was really, really, really bad. And it was freezing in there. It was like basically a cement block in the middle of a residential area. And we worked there for a year. And then because I do all the welding and, you know, I have my oxyacetylene tanks going and this and that, it's really dangerous being in a wood shop because it's extremely flammable. We realized very quickly that zoning was going to bust us. And I basically was like, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. I can't afford to, you know, bounce around. I'm raising a kid. This is just kind of crazy. And I decided I was going to shut down shop, and that's it. And go be an iron worker or whatever, you know.
How long ago was this?
This was 5 years ago. And so a customer of mine who had his bike in my shop at the time, I called him and I was like, hey, Lucas, you got to get your bike out of here. And he was like, what's going on? I'm like, we're moving. And, we're shutting down everything. I'm putting everything in storage. And he was like, you have two choices. One, you either shut down and you never do this again, or you go big or go home. And he sent me a photo of what was like my dream shop. And I was like, I can't do that. I can't do that. It's huge. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's right in the middle of Boston. And he said, just try. And if you fail, you fail. And all my team, like the Madhouse team, we all decided, all right, let's try it. And we somehow, by the skin of our teeth, have made it work. And so we moved in here. I sold some of my favorite bikes to like buy equipment, never, borrowed anything from anyone. It was just sweat. All of us just sweated and made it work. And we moved in here. We've been here for almost 4 years now. And this is, it's wild. I mean, it takes a team. It genuinely, there's maybe 20 of us that make this shop run. It's absolutely 100% not just me. From people that, help do the muscle work, like lifting up bikes up onto my pallet racks, or to people that are helping with the paperwork. I have really, really great employees, but I also have a really great team that genuinely makes this place work. If it was just me, I would be building one bike a year, having a different job, being a different person. But I have this squad and this team that make everything kind of fall together, that make this shop where it's like, wow, that's a big, beautiful shop. It's like, yeah, but it took 20 of us to make it. It's genuinely not just me.
Right.
And that's a fact.
And isn't it funny that you hear stories about, because one of the questions I was going to ask you is, have you ever had a time that you just were going to give up and just be done? Can you imagine that one phone call to your buddy can just life-changing?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a handful of those times. The thing is, I don't come from a rich family. Like, they've never been rich. They will never be rich. Like, it's just not, that's not my family. And so I didn't understand that you could like borrow money to make things work. I had no idea. I've never had a credit card or anything like that. So I was like, I don't know how people start companies. I was just doing tire changes. And I was like, I don't want to do this. It's too complicated. It's confusing. I don't have a degree in, business or anything. But then my friends started convincing me that just figure it out. And it was stressful and confusing because I have a whole other life outside the shop.
People forget those kind of things,
Yeah, but again, that's kind of where it comes back to the team, where people are like, one guy that would hang out at the shop would help me go do my permits for the city. And then another one would say, hey, look, I just got you a grant for your LED lights. And slowly, just this collaboration of all these different minds built this shop here. one person built the stairs up to my loft, another one built the loft, you know. It's been a massive team effort. And
it's
that's
amazing.
made me not give up. Yeah. Like, everyone's help is the reason why I didn't give up.
Right. And it seems like you totally have the passion and the drive just to keep going. Besides doing the regular maintenance things, you have keep pushing for a dream or things that you push yourself to do something completely outside of the box and something different that other people really appreciate.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I don't even want to bring this up, but how many women were at Handbuilt?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like there was a fair amount.
Yeah.
I think there was a fair amount.
Yeah. I just, you know what? And another thing, I hate to bring his name up again, but Craig Rod Smith and I were talking, and he said that you are the how did he it's just a total gender free thing that when he was talking about you, he completely respects you as a builder. And I think one of the other things of you kind of promoting more women to get into this business, that it's not a male dominated thing, it's about talent and drive, and it doesn't matter either way.
I appreciate hearing that. Yeah, my intention as a woman in the industry isn't to be like, hey guys, I'm a girl doing it. It's more like if I subtly and kind of subconsciously help influence other women, that's awesome. But I want my machines and what I'm creating and what I'm welding together and what I'm rebuilding and all that to be viewed as if it doesn't matter if it was a guy or a girl that built it.
And I think totally that's the way it is.
Yeah, and I feel like give it 5 years, 10 years, if you go to a show and you walk around, I hope that no one would say, oh, there's a bike over there built by a girl, you know. I think that
right.
it's just going to take time, and that's what everyone needs to kind of be patient for. And in the meanwhile, if you see more women building and racing and everything literally every day, it's soon going to be an obsolete conversation where it's like, yeah, so what? You know, that woman smoked this person in a race. It doesn't really matter. It's more like, no, number 4 smoked number 22 in the last race, you know?
Right.
It's the gender thing is going to fizzle out soon, which I think is going to be great because then it breeds equality.
Right. And our friend Jessie Combs kind of put that to shame.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she was, I believe, the most important person in our industry when it comes to integrating women in what has historically been a male-dominated trade. And it's not only in the racing side, in the building side, in the fabrication side. She was and still is one of the most phenomenal characters that this industry has had. And I truly believe that.
Yeah, and what a great human being. She's just
absolutely
like fantastic. I think the first time I met her, some guy was back and I didn't really know about her records and everything. And so he says, Dave, that girl's got more balls than any guy here.
Yeah, it's true. It sure is true.
Yeah, no, that was a complete tragedy too. But
yeah,
it's
absolutely.
One of those, what can you do?
Yep.
So I noticed you have a couple tattoos on your hand. How many tattoos do you have?
I don't know. So I tattoo myself a lot. Yeah, that's why they all look the same.
The artist in you. That's why there's nothing on your right hand. You do it all, or is there something on your right hand?
I'll do it with both hands. So I go tattoo with left and right hand. But yeah, I don't know how I would count my tattoos because it's like my legs, my stomach, my back, they're everywhere.
Okay, how about this one? How about first tattoo? And how old are you?
Oh man. I was 14.
Okay.
And I was with 2 of my very close friends from Cambridge, Nora and Evie. This is so funny. And I only remember like blips of this night. But we got like picked up in some like old Ford Explorer SUV and went to some dude's house, and we were experimenting with certain kinds of narcotics that night. And my friend Nora, who's a little younger than me, who wasn't as seasoned with experimenting with things. Wound up getting her name tattooed in this bubble letters that still to this day is probably one of the worst tattoos I've ever seen. She's a gorgeous girl. She is a beautiful, beautiful girl. She's one of my closest friends. And it's one of those things where you're like, where the hell did you get that? And the answer is with Jay when she was 13 and I was 14. And
oh my God, her parents must have freaked.
Luckily, it's like on her rib cage, but man, if you see it, it's like one of those things where if a stranger saw it, they'd say, "Oh man, that's really bad." It's really bad.
It's a prison tattoo. That's what she's just got to tell everybody.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
13-year-old bubble letter, your own name.
Yeah, she got her name, and
nice.
it was really bad.
Okay, so what was yours?
Mine was my grandmother's name in Arabic. And it was like one of the only things she knew how to write because she wasn't in school for that long, but she knew how to write her name. And my grandmother, when I was young, and still is, even though she's passed now, is one of the most important people to me. I was basically raised in her kitchen, which is where I get all my kitchen Arabic from. And she was very similar to me, or maybe I'm very similar to her. Kind of tomboyish. I have photos of her back in the old country sitting on motorcycles and riding them, and she was very, very cool. She was a very cool, fun older woman.
Wow. You have such good family stories. I love it. Everybody's in it. I love it.
My family is very important to me. My family is very, very important to me.
Now, do you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I have 2 brothers and an older sister.
Nice. Now, do they have anything to do with the motorcycles?
Not so. I'm the baby of the family, so I was kind of the one that was following my dad around while my siblings were out doing stuff, being older.
Getting bubble tattoos of their names.
Yeah. But no, I mean my brother who's right above me, he has ridden motorcycles kind of on and off the same way I have for his whole life. But no, they're not industry folk. Right. They're artists in their own ways.
So you're Lebanese, is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Lebanese Syrian, yeah.
Okay, so were your mom and dad born here or there?
So my father's from Lebanon. My mother, who I don't speak about that much, is Romanian. Okay. Some people can see the Romanian in me, but Romanians and Lebanese sometimes look pretty similar. So I'm Lebanese Syrian with Romanian.
So you've been here your whole life. Your parents were born there and then came here. Mm-hmm. Wow. And how is Boston? Have you ever you've grown up there your whole life?
Boston's cool. Being from Boston, I'm a Boston kid, right? But Boston has changed a lot. So people who grew up here are very tight knit with each other, but Boston has a lot of folk who, because it's such a busy city in a way. So there's a lot of people who come in here for school or for work or whatever it may be. But my close friends are Boston kids. We're very kind of like rough and tumble Boston folk.
You don't have the Boston accent though.
No, I mean, no, I don't.
No, you really don't.
Everyone I grew up with does, but I don't.
I'm
cool with that though. I'm cool with that.
So what do you see? So can I ask how old you are?
I'm 29.
You're only 29?
Yeah.
I mean, you've accomplished a lot in 29 years. That's amazing.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
I mean, my life started when I was pretty young. So
yeah,
I started working on bikes.
Actually, that's going to be my Facebook status today. My life started when I was very young.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what does the future hold for you? 29 years old. You have what'd I do to be 29?
What does the future hold for me? So I didn't mean to be so vague when talking about this next project that I'm doing, but my goal is in the next couple years to have my work viewed less as individual machines that I'm creating to be viewed singularly. And I want the future of my work to be more like interactive art, where it's not about the one machine, it's about all the machines. It's not about the event you're seeing it at, it's about how it's displayed. So displays where you can get up and sit on the bikes, or you can spin the machines and view them in all these different ways, or the lighting changes, or it's paired with different sounds or smells. Have it be kind of like performance art revolving around the motorcycle. Because I personally, what I realize is when I go to these shows and I see all these bikes built by builders who I admire so much, I want to know more. And I want to, if there's such phenomenal artists with just the motorcycle, I want to see how they want it displayed. I want to see their drawings behind it. I want to see their artist statement. I want to know why they made this machine in the first place. And I think for myself, when people see my bike just sitting on a pallet, they're only really seeing half of what I created. Some of my drawings to the bikes, I feel like, are equally as important as the bike, or the reason why I chose this part, etc. So what I'm trying to do is give myself enough time to not only create my machines, but also to create the viewing process and the conversation of the machines. So that's why I was saying, yeah, I'm not sure I'll have my bikes done for the one show, because I'm trying to also build the display, which I'm not sure people are going to want to see. I'm not sure the show owners are going to be like, okay, kid, yeah, bring in your, big display. And if they don't want that, that's fine. And I'll be like, all right, sorry, never mind. But I'm trying to make it more of an experience, again, where people who are not into motorcycles are like, wow, that was fun, or that was cool, or like, I like letting people sit on my bike, for example, and I want to continue with that in a way that is not just for little kids sitting on the bike, but also for adults and for people to feel like they had an experience when viewing a machine, which I don't see happening that much.
No, and what a fabulous idea, just to interact, because you walk around some of these shows, there's hundreds and hundreds of bikes. How do you know, like, because I've been behind the scenes of how some things are built, and I look at just certain part, and everything has a story. Everything has a story. Or you got caught up here and you really wanted to do this, but you ended up doing something different for whatever crazy reason, and that might be your favorite part of the bike at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like some of the greatest builders on earth right now, some of the parts that they're making you never see. Like Christian Newman's a good example right now. And I want to be able to see his bike, but also see his sketches or his CAD design to the parts that he's putting inside his engine, where when I go see his bike, I want to be able to see parts of the process that are as artistic as the finished product. That's like, and that goes for all these phenomenal builders. I'm curious. I want to see what else is going into it.
Right. And one of the reasons I started this podcast, because I realized that there's such stories behind everything, and such unique individuals that bring, like, and a lot of them, you could totally see their personality. You see one bike go in, you go, I know who built that. But just the story behind it and how they got started, and the struggles they went through to actually get everything done is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I'm curious what inspires people to build. And so I want to see that.
Yeah, and I what I've enjoyed over the last 2-3 years is watching the newcomer guys that come and just get just totally blown away, inspired, and all you see on Instagram is these guys working their asses off every single day.
Oh,
and then they come the next year or 2 years later, and you're like,
they're powerhouses. Yeah. Oh yeah, they're powerhouses. Yeah. There's some really, really, really amazing kind of alchemists out there right now. And there's people who have set the bar so high, and then people are chasing that bar, which is so cool to see.
It is, and it really just cool. It brings everybody up. Everybody has risen up by that. Definitely. And that's why I like to see, especially, I've only been to the one show once, but it's funny to see how every show has kind of a different feel to it. And and I think the one show I went to is. Here's one of my favorite things. Mark Atkinson brings the Alpha to the one show and never goes by his bike. he's done with it.
Right.
He'd rather be back in the shop building something else, and everybody's like drooling over it, and you're looking at him going, he just wants to go back to Utah and build something else.
Yeah. Yep.
With the sandals and socks on.
That's the driving people, man.
Yeah. And that's another, the hugely interesting thing is I watch these bikes get built, and then once they're done, they kind of get pushed to the side, and it's like everybody at these shows by the end of the weekend are like, they just want to get back in the shop.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the shows, I feel like, is for people also just to vibe out with each other, which is cool. Because people get so tight, they build lifelong friendships over motorcycles, which is really awesome.
It is, and it brings a certain really cool mindset of people together.
Definitely.
Yeah, which is, whether that's good or bad, you crazy mofos that are everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, so now, are you gonna go to these shows even if you don't have everything ready?
I am. I'll go. With or without bikes. I not only to support, but also I really like to see what people create, and then meet up with people and see people who I only get to like really talk with in person at motorcycle events and just kind of vibe out.
Right. And remember, we're close to Mama Tried, so if you come up, Craig and I will be going up there and hanging out. So we're just a short drive away, so come hang out with us.
I'll definitely go. Yeah, I'm trying to keep myself in check about not rushing to get to the shows to then kind of show off. Where I'm like, is that my ego driving me to hurry up because I want to show off my bikes? And I'm trying to not be that kind of artist. Because at one point I felt myself like, man, I just want to get it done to bring it to the shows. And I'm like, that's not a healthy mindset. Because ego and creativity don't work good together, at least not for me. And so,
but it's fun to have other people appreciate your work like that too.
It is, but I'm trying to make sure that I'm being genuine with why I'm creating instead of doing it for other people's praises. Because sometimes you don't even realize that subconsciously you're doing that, and I feel like for me it could be tempting, and that will like hinder my ability to really connect with my work and feel honest with what I'm creating. Because like if I'm making something because I want someone else to be like, oh, good job, kid, then I'm making it for them, not for me,
And that's some excellent advice for younger builders out there that haven't been in the scene, that are doing something, that do it for yourself, make it awesome, and if you love it.
I totally agree.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people are trying to not copy things, but stay up with people. But I think if you stick to what you're doing and your passion, then people are gonna appreciate it, no matter how crazy it is. I
totally agree. Yeah, when I was a little younger, I had probably some of the best but quickest advice from Christian Sosa. Him and I were in Brooklyn at the Brooklyn Invitational, and he said something to me. We were talking for the night, but he said something to me where it was just like, enjoy the process of building. Enjoy the process of creating, because when it's done, it's done. And so that, it was such a quick, simple thing, but that really got stuck in my head, where I was like, enjoy the day that you're spending, 8 hours welding pipe, or enjoy the day where you're doing a whole engine rebuild and you're getting to, look into engines of bikes that, you haven't torn down yet. And it was like, the process is so beautiful. And it's fun, and that's where you learn, and that's where you grow. And when it's done, it's done. Your learning's over, or at least on that project. And him saying that was that really, really good timing for me, at least. And I think that's something that'll stick with me for the rest of my career.
Wow. Two great advice, two great things of advice for anybody out there, especially people that are struggling to keep them motivated, because that daily, thing of going to the shop, people that don't have as many people around you as you do every day, people that are by themselves or doing something, need motivation to keep going.
Absolutely.
But that's great advice. So let's wrap up here, but I want you to think about this for 1 second. I want you to nominate somebody that you'd like to learn more about or hear on the show.
Someone that I would like to learn more about.
Or maybe they bring more something to our audience of people that would say, God, he's got a great story. He or she, obviously. Like, what's the method behind their madness, or how did they get to where they're at today?
Okay.
I see the wheels turning.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think of someone that would maybe benefit from a boost up.
Right.
From some more info about them.
Right. Because the people that are listening right now are really, really diehard, motorcycle people, and some people that are just getting into the business to go, wow, or they look up to you guys so much that they like, oh my God, how in the hell did they get here? I could never do that. Or,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough one.
Or who'd be the most entertaining person to have on here, even if it's not the greatest story, but the most fun to listen to.
You know who I've kind of become more interested in, and I don't know if there will be like a language barrier, is some of the builders in Indonesia.
Okay.
I think there's one Krom, Krom.
Right.
Some of the builders in Indonesia. I've been more and more fascinated with Christian Newman, even though I know everyone is very aware of him. But he's quiet. He's very, very quiet. But
okay.
Geez, his mind is amazing. I feel like I've never heard Max's on talk.
Right. I think Max is definitely on my list, and him and Craig have become good friends, and if those two are, there must be something behind there. It's just not the vodka that brings them together.
The vodka is helpful. Jeez.
Yeah, it builds relationships.
Yeah, I mean, see, I wish that I was more knee deep in the industry and the social side, so I could throw more names out.
No, that's okay. I would like to talk to Christian Newman because I don't think that I personally know him.
Yeah, he's quiet, but his ability to recreate and his attention to detail is very, very impressive. And so, yeah, I'd be curious with that.
Yeah. Now, here's this may be a really stupid question. You were in Oil in the Blood, correct?
I was.
Yes. So
yeah, I thought I was getting pranked with that, by the way.
If you knew Gareth better probably before you did it, you'd really thought you were being pranked.
They sent such a professional email that I was like, one of my friends wrote this.
Just, sorry you're having a bad day. Here's a great email for you.
It was such a well-composed email that I was like, yeah, like, we're going to fly from London, yada, yada. And I was like, yeah, all right, guys, let's get back to work.
I'm gonna put that because I'm talking to Gareth tomorrow. So I'm going to put it on his thing to ask him who wrote his email.
Yeah, they're very professional.
So it's kind of cool. You're on Amazon, you're on iTunes. So that's kind of a cool thing. Yeah.
It's definitely cool.
Very, very cool film too.
Yeah.
I like how they just got down and after you watch it and you know everybody on there, it's kind of funny to watch to say, wow, but yeah, excellent job doing the film though. So I'm gonna have to rewatch it. Maybe I'll watch it this afternoon and I'll pick out some clips and put them on the U of the tube for you, or the Instagram.
Yeah, they definitely did a great job with that.
Yeah,
they did a great job. I was so honored to be in that. It was kind of mind blowing.
I like the email story though. That's great.
Yeah, this is the second time that's happened where I'm like, you guys are pranking me, man.
Okay, what was the other time?
The Brooklyn Invitational. Their email was the opposite. That was crazy.
What did it say?
I got invited to the Brooklyn Invitational a couple years ago, and the email said, if from the Brooklyn Invitational, you're invited to the Brooklyn Invitational. And that was it.
How did you answer? Sure.
I think we wrote back and didn't get a response for a bit, and I was just like, yeah, no, it's not true. And because I was like, I don't know any of these people. Actually, that show was really funny because I was in South Carolina the day before, and I had mud all over my boots, and they display everything in a really, really beautiful way. And I don't know if anyone remembers, but at the show, there was muddy boot prints all around my bike because I walked all over the painted floor. They did not find it funny.
You left your mark.
Yeah, because I went in before the show, and I walked around my bike, and I walked on the wet paint.
That's great. Maybe it's still there.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's awesome. Well, Jade, thank you so much for taking time with me this morning. I'm sorry it's been a little hard to connect.
Oh, no, it's been.
And the fact that I was up at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning. You should be super proud of me.
Good job, my friend. Good job.
Proud of, yes. And I look forward to seeing you really soon. And then I'll have this posted really shortly. And I think a lot of people will be very interested in what you have to say. And I really appreciate all your input and your advice and your stories, and sharing them with me is very important. So
well, thank you. And I appreciate you reaching out.
Yeah.
We will be in touch. Thanks
all
again,
right.
man.
All right. Well, have an awesome day, and I will see you probably sooner than you want.
All righty. That sounds
all right.
good.
Thank you so much, Jay. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right.